Hi, everybody. It's Marty Watts, Old Blue Eyes. I'm wearing my Old Blue Eyes shirt and hat today. And welcome to American Talk It Up with one of the best, greatest hosts a man can have, Ed Nunes. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Marty. It's always good to be with you. Thank you.
And Ed, I guess what we're going to talk about today is the recurrence of COVID-19. Even though the numbers are going down, but people are still being affected. And we've got a little over 30% of the population with the vaccine. But I think it's going to be until we get 80 to 90%. I don't think this thing's going to go away, Ed. What do you think?
Well, they're saying that Michigan, I guess, is having a big outbreak there. And the governor had asked President Biden for more vaccines. But the doctor, I can't remember her name, said that you can't vaccinate your way out of this. And so they're not going to, they called it whack-a-mole. They're not going to whack-a-mole, whatever that means. So they're not going to get any more vaccines right now. So Michigan is seeing spikes. Here's the thing. Everybody is COVID tired. They're COVID tired of the masks, tired of social distancing. They're tired of it. There's COVID fatigue setting in, and it's kind of dangerous because it's not over with. I've got my vaccines. You've got yours. Most people I know, some don't have any vaccines at all. Some are not going to take the vaccine. That's the other thing. That's their right not to take it, right? There's a friend of mine who I went to all 12 years of school with. I went to Holy Ghost with her for 8 years, the old St. Pius for 1 year, and then I went to Highland with her. She's as anti-vaccine as I've ever seen. This goes back to when even her kid was little. So there's people that are not going to take that vaccine. I don't know what the answer is. Now, Jimmy, our producer, will tell you that in Florida, Governor DeSantis had a roundtable meeting, and they're saying their numbers are they've been open and everything's okay. Governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, said the same thing, that they're almost at herd immunity. I find some of those things hard to believe on my end, but I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but all I know is this: we're not going to be able to move forward 100% in this country until most of that thing is eradicated or gone, because you're going to keep seeing spikes, more hospitalizations. I hope not as many deaths. I don't think this thing's over. And a lot of people, I think, are thinking, I get it. They're tired of it. We're seeing kids, and people have asked me this, kids that are running and playing basketball and football and everything. Are they hydrating enough because of those masks? I don't know. I'm just glad that the kids are out there, right? We're glad that they're playing ball. So I think everybody's kind of COVID fatigued. And I just hope that we continue to get out of this thing, because if we don't get out of it, we'll never be we're not a green county yet, right? We're not green. So we'll never be fully open or fully where we want to be.
Well, Ed, I just found out today that the Johnson Johnson, that's the one hit vaccine, they put a pause on it in New Mexico and the United States because they're finding out it's causing some blood clotting, a certain percentage. So they're looking at the data to make sure if it's still safe enough. Now, I had the Pfizer and you had the other one, right?
The Moderna.
And I took the second shot last week, and I want to tell everybody I had a sore arm for a day. I didn't have the reaction you did, but everybody's different. And so after a day, I felt pretty good. Now, my significant other half, she didn't feel good for many days. She was kind of sick for 2 or 3 days. She finally started feeling good this weekend, but so it affects everybody in a different way. I'm concerned about this Johnson Johnson, but I think they're doing the right thing until they get more data on this blood clotting. They probably should not be giving out the vaccine at this point. But I think those numbers in Texas and Florida, it's hard to believe, but obviously we'll see how it goes. I know our numbers are going down, but there was a spike the other day. People were coming back from school break, Ed. That could be the case. And now we know. Why don't you tell them what happened with one of the local high schools, El Dorado? Why don't you tell that story, Ed?
My thinking, I heard this, is that they had some kids test positive. 4 kids or so tested positive, and the whole school shut down. The whole school shut down for 14 days. And that means, and again, you and I talk sports, but we're also talking the learning, history, all the school, the chemistry, the band, the DECA, everything shut down until 2 weeks from Saturday, I believe. So I had a game canceled last week. I was supposed to do West Mesa and El Dorado on Friday, and that game was canceled because of the COVID contact tracing. So again, we're not out of this thing yet. Now I have to ask this too. Hey, they're going to have the state tournament in May 3rd through May 8th, the basketball tournament. Are we going to be green by then so fans can come in? I don't know. I don't know. You know, we're still planning on doing it. I'm pretty sure. But will the fans, you know, baseball is letting in 25%, football is letting in 25%. But are we going to be green by then? Are we going to be green by May 3rd? And that's less than a month away. It's a couple of weeks away. It's already what, April 10th or 12th today, 13th. I don't even know what the date is, but it's not that far away. And this basketball season is going to go like I've got a game tonight, tomorrow, for Thursday and Friday. I'm working every night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I'm working every night this week, and I'm glad. I'm happy to be doing it, but it's going to go so fast. You know, and then you look up, and then baseball starting, right? So all these seasons jammed into one, and again, we're just happy the kids are playing. I had a friend of mine say this to me the other day. His daughter plays for Valley, and he's upset because he can't get in the gym. He says, "Look, we should be able to socially distance in the gym." He's upset. He's upset about it. He's glad that ProView Networks he can watch on the stream, but he's a little bit upset because he feels like he should be able to go in the gym and watch his daughter where they see 2,000 and be able to socially distance. And I understand that, right? I get it. There's probably more than one parent. There's several that are very upset, right? So are we going to get to that green level by May 3rd and May 8th? I don't know. We'll see.
Well, we got to protect the vulnerable. And you notice the people who are dying in New Mexico are all people over 70 years old or late 60s. And those numbers are going down. The cases are going down, but the virus is still running around. And obviously, we'll where I think we should protect the vulnerable, let the rest of society work it out. I I think we should go. We should, if we don't go green by May at the state basketball tournament, we should at least let 25% of the people in there. Now, and maybe and maybe the older people over 60, if they don't have their vaccine card, maybe we don't let them in. But what I'm saying, we need to have crowd. It's not going to be a state tournament without the crowds, Ed. And the way they got it set up now, the five districts, the five classes, the top 8 goes, and each team, the highest, the ranking or the highest seeded is going to host the game. So when you get to Friday and Saturday of the state tournament, those are all finals on Friday and Saturday. They won't allow any team to come over and stay overnight, Ed. So the team from Hobbs, if they make it to the final Saturday, that game's probably going to be at 7 o'clock, 7:30. So that means they're going to have to leave Hobbs in the morning to get here because they can't stay overnight.
And I want you to think about this. And you've traveled to play rugby, and you've traveled to play football. And when you're on the bus all day long and you get off the bus, it's a little bit different because, you're fatigued, you're tired. It's a little bit different. And that's why they usually bring them in a day before so they can rest. And this is different. This is different, right? This is not the same season. And we're just lucky that the kids are out there playing. And I guarantee the kids, if you ask them, of course they don't care what accommodations they have to make as long as they get to play. And you made a good point about that, about Hobbs, because the Hobbs girls are ranked number 1, right? The Hobbs girls are ranked basketball teams ranked number 1 in the state. So that's going to be a challenge for any team to get off the bus and then play. You're fatigued. Your legs are tired. They really are. They're young. Everyone is going to say, well, they're 16 and 17 years old, but traveling on the bus and you get a little bit cooped up. You get a little bit fatigued, and it can take. And then you come to this altitude up here in Albuquerque, and it can take a little bit out of you. It really can. But you play on adrenaline, right? Once you run down that ramp, you play on adrenaline, and hopefully fans will be allowed in there, because when that place is full and it has fans, it's a different story. It's way different, right? Way different.
Well, they'll probably have the girls and boys 5A and 4A on Saturday, and probably the other classes on Friday. So probably if Hobbs does make it, it is a disadvantage. or Las Cruces or Carlsbad Roswell because they can't stay overnight. So that means they're going to have to leave in the morning that day. And you're right, it's probably going to be a factor. It'll give the Albuquerque schools, if they do make it to the finals, advantage. But we've got a problem with teams like El Dorado. So they're going to be out for the next couple of weeks. Who knows that some of these teams are going to be affected by the pandemic. But in Oklahoma, I go back to Oklahoma, they were able to get through a state basketball tournament. They did have 25 to 30% in the stands. They were able to pull through it. Now, what they did is if it wasn't a player on a team, somebody came with the pandemic, they send that person home for 2 weeks. So they didn't shut down the school like El Dorado did. They just send the 4 people. If this was Oklahoma, those 4 people would go home for 2 weeks, and that's how they would do it. But here in New Mexico, they're shutting the whole school down because of 4 people. And look at the Lobos baseball team. Only one guy came down with it, and now they've had 2 weekends of no baseball for college.
And I'll tell you what, for Ray Birmingham, it's got to be a nightmare because if you remember last season, they started out, I think, 14-4. They had a very good record to start, and then they had to quit, right? They had to stop. They had to stop their season because of COVID. So they come back this year, and they're up and down. They're up and down a little bit, and then you have a contact tracing on the Lobo team, and then so there's no weekend series last weekend, and there's no series this weekend, and you can't even practice. You can't practice. You can't throw. You can't hit. You can't work on situational baseball, bunting. You can't do anything, and it's hard. It's hard. And I feel for Coach Birmingham, who we think the world of, right? That guy is all about New Mexico. That guy is, he's from Hobbs. I'm not saying again that the Lobo coaches who aren't from New Mexico aren't great too, but Ray Birmingham is an exceptional human being. He really is. So you got to feel for him because of last season, the way it ended, and the way this season started. Some promise, they've been up and down, but still you're playing. And then all of a sudden, 2 weekends in a row, you can't play. So I feel for Coach and the players. My heart goes out to them. It really does.
I do too. The longer this shutdown goes, the longer this thing's going to drag on. I don't think we need to shut down. I think we need to open up more and be cautious. And I believe if the way these vaccines are going, Ed, I think you're going to get that herd mentality. Is that the right word? The herd effect?
Immunity.
And I think I got to believe by the time we get to May and June, these numbers are going to be very small. We should not be shut down. I think the restaurants should open up more, especially with the outdoor dining they can have. I think they should open up more. I just don't want us to be shut down anymore. But and you know what, Ed? Maybe if you are 60 or older and you don't have your vaccine, maybe you should just play safe. I'm saying right now that the people who are dying are the older people, okay? And right now they're the ones who are getting the priority. And I don't know what the percentage of the people over 65 who got the vaccine, but I gotta believe it's a pretty good percentage in New Mexico. Is that right, Ed? That's what I think.
You know what? I read in the paper a lot, and some people say that they got it, and then a lot of seniors that I'm reading are saying they didn't. So I don't know where we are as a state. I heard that we were ranked pretty high in getting vaccinations out, but then when I read that in the paper that some seniors have not been called and they feel like they've been forgotten. I don't know where the truth, they always say it lies in the middle. So I'm not sure exactly where we are for sure with that, but I think you're right. When the more months keep going, that we'll get those vaccines. But remember the other part of that. There's those anti-vaxxers, Marty, that will never get vaccinated, and there's some that believe Bill Gates is trying to control the government with microchips and crazy stuff, crazy conspiracy stuff.
Right.
So I don't know. There's a lot of people that will still never get vaccinated. Remember that they'll never take that vaccination.
Well, what they did at Oklahoma University and Oklahoma State, excuse me, the athletic director made all the players take vaccines. They got the whole team vaccine. So what if they would have done that to University of New Mexico baseball team? They probably wouldn't be in this jam right now if they would have had the vaccine. He went to the governor of Oklahoma and said, look, I want a vaccine to girls softball, baseball, basketball, everybody. They were winter sports and spring sports, and they did. And they hadn't had any problems. that might have been a good thing to do, but obviously it didn't happen in New Mexico. But they took I guess they took the bull by the horn and did it.
Let
What
me
do you
ask you
think of
this.
that? What do you think what they did in Oklahoma?
Is there legal ramifications to that? Is there some,
No,
excuse me, is there
each
some people that wouldn't take it? Is there some that are going to say, you can't make me? That's only my only question, because there's going to be some people that say, I don't want to take that. No matter if you tell me to take it, I don't believe in the vaccine. I don't want it in my body. There's a bunch that might be for religious reasons. There's a bunch of reasons why that people could say, I don't want it. So I don't know that you can even do that legally. That's my question.
Ed, I want to jump in real quick. So
yes.
I want to clarify a couple of things, and that is, not everyone that's against this vaccine is an anti-vaxxer. So yeah, there are some anti-vaxxers out there, but that's not the case of everyone that doesn't want this particular vaccine series. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that herd immunity is not an objective. It's just how, that's the whole point of vaccine, is that you try to get the herd or the community and the society to be immune to, like, think about it like this: chickenpox, right? We had the vaccine for chickenpox, but then there are people that just got the chickenpox, and then you don't need the vaccine if you got the chickenpox, because your body build up the immunity to it, and that's how it works. So in the same way, that's what we're dealing with here. So the question is, what is our objective? If our objective is to try to get society to reopen and everything, then that means that we want to make sure that more and more people get it without the major adverse reactions, without death and hospitalization. That's really what we're talking about, So if that's the case, then the more and the longer we lock down, that means that less likely people will get exposed, meaning that there will be less people that get infected. Well, you're either going to get infected because you got injected by a vaccine, because that's what that is doing, is basically you're injecting something that causes your body to create that immune response, whether it's the live virus or this mRNA stuff that is in there. So either way, you're creating this immunity through creating a situation where your body's exposed to this viral element. Okay, so so that's the logic. If you really think about that through, you'll see that that's what we're talking about here. So if we keep blocking it down and not letting people exposed to it, then yeah, you can say, okay, well, then that's the vaccine is the only option, because that's the only way you're going to get exposed to this. But if you open up society, then that means that somebody's going to get infected. And as long as we protect the vulnerable, meaning the people that are most at risk of being hospitalized or dying from this, then the exposure is not going to cause any kind of serious problem for the rest of society, because we already know that the survivability of this is very high. And so if you're in one of those risk categories, then don't get exposed. Get the vaccine. For the others, you got to let it run its course, because that's how a virus work. We've done it. We've seen it, with all the viruses throughout history so far.
So Jimmy, I don't know, and Ed, I don't want to put my neck out. I don't know if they forced the vaccine on the players or they gave them option not to take it. My understanding, most everybody did at Oklahoma, so they could play in the NCAA tournament and baseball games. And so, but since they've done that, they have not had any problems. So maybe, but that's, each state has their own, programs. And he went to the governor of Oklahoma and they decided to take care of the athletes. Now we didn't do that. And now we're getting hurt, and looks like we're not going to make it to the Mountain West baseball tournament because we won't have enough games to qualify. And so that's a state by state decision. But if you think about it, if they would have gave all those baseball players a vaccine, probably we wouldn't be in this jam right now. What do you think, Ed?
Jimmy, I understand what Jimmy's saying. I do. I may not agree with everything he says. Everyone's got, I think, a different opinion. And the problem with this COVID-19 thing, and they said this about Fauci and Birx, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, that they've been wrong. And it's true, they have been. They've moved the goalposts. They have. All I'm saying is the people that are calling them out are not doctors or not scientists, or not, have never treated patients. I'm not even mentioning Jimmy. Jimmy's a very intelligent man. He's got ideas that he researches. I may not always agree with all of what he says, but he's got his ideas that he really looks into. Everybody, there's a lot of people that just, if they want a certain way done, if they don't like the close downs, they're going to say, well, Birx and Fauci are just doing it to get rich off the vaccine, which is ridiculous. It's preposterous. It really is. But I think that the one thing we've learned, maybe we haven't, I don't know. The last time you mentioned we had a pandemic was 1918, right? 1918? So
No, actually, well, we had the swine flu in the 70s that was almost, I mean, it wasn't a pandemic, but we had a forced vaccine inoculation program.
and that didn't work.
That did
not work.
Yeah, exactly. They shut that thing down so fast because it caused more problem. That's what I'm saying, is that's what happens when you're rushing to do something that, and look what happened. They shut down the vaccine program, and did the swine flu end up taking over the world like into a pandemic? No, it didn't. So what happened there? They obviously didn't do anything else after they shut down that program. And they didn't shut down society either, right? In the 1970s.
I'm going to say this though. Listen to me for a sec. You know, I listen to you. I'm just saying this thing here is much more infectious or contagious than the flu. We cannot compare it to the flu. It's not the flu. It's not. It's not. Now we can sit here and argue, and we have, and we will, that the CDC didn't report the numbers. I don't know that that's true. You don't know that that's true. We don't. Now you can sit there and say you got these things, and you can send them to me. We're just keyboard warriors, man. That's it. That's it. I've got my corner of the world. You've got your corner of the world. I'm not an expert in that. You're not either. All we can do is research and look. That's it. But they're not calling me at night on CNBC or Fox News to say, hey, Dr. Nunez, what do you think? They're not. They're calling real doctors, real scientists. So now the one thing that have we learned about COVID? What is there going to, my other question is this, is there going to be more pandemics around the corner? Is it going to be every 100 years? Is there going to be more? I hope not. I hope not. This one, look at the damage this thing has done to the economy, to our mental health, to politicizing something that should have never been politicized by both parties, right? You can sit there and say the left shouldn't have done this. Boy, we can sit there and say, I'll say this again. I'm going to say this again. And people are going to get mad and go flip out and whatever. President Trump, he developed the vaccine, right? Now, does he deserve credit for that? I think he does. Now, some are going to say it was developed too fast, right? But people are getting vaccinated and we're not seeing a bunch of people die from it. Okay, now the Johnson & Johnson, Marty, that you mentioned, yes, that one there is there've been some blood clots and some problems with that. They may pull that one. But as far as the other vaccines, we haven't seen a large swath of people dying from Moderna or the other one. We have not. Okay, so let's be honest about that. Some vaccines have worked. They have. We have to be honest about both things.
Well, hold on. You're right. There's again. I don't want to. It's not a blanket statement, and that's the problem. Is that we've been approaching this, okay, with a kind of like one size fit all type of thing. As you know, one size never fit all. Mm-hmm. Everyone has different health conditions. Marty just explained his wife had a different reaction than he did, and so we know that these situations are there, and that the best thing we can do is, we're not experts in this, but we certainly can think and we can certainly listen, right? And we listen. I mean, when I'm researching this stuff, I'm listening to all the different arguments that are out there, one or the other, and so forth, and then I make my own. I draw my own conclusion on what I think is sensible based on logic and based on reasoning and based on what I understand and know about science, for instance, right? So that's the first part. Now, when you talk about the vaccine, for instance, the Pfizer vaccine, just a few days ago, I saw an article that there's a variant out there, the South African variant, for instance, okay? Mm-hmm. It's causing some serious problem for people that had the Pfizer vaccine, for instance. Okay. It may not. They might not have a reaction to the current variant that we have, but when they were exposed to the South African variant, I think it was. I have to look that article up again, but they had much more so than the people that did not have a vaccine at all in terms of the reaction that they had. to that variant. You see what I'm saying? So there are a lot of still unknowns that, and it's not even, I'm not saying that the vaccine necessarily was developed too fast, because you got to realize that some of this vaccine, the search for vaccine for the coronavirus started in the early 2000s, okay, when we had the first SARS outbreak in 2003, I think it was, okay, or 2001 or 2000, somewhere in the early 2000s. So they've been developing and trying to come up with different methods to come up with a vaccine since then, okay? So I understand that there's that history that built up to where we are last year when they started to change and redirect the resources to bring it to the market and all that. And that's fine. That's not really the argument so much as it is, we haven't seen it being used and monitored for a long enough period. That's why vaccines have these long test cycles, right? Because they want to know that there's no long-term adverse reaction or adverse effect.
That's true.
That's the reason. That's the argument.
Yeah.
Is that the people that are saying, I don't want to take this, is because they're like, well, this thing just came out. Yeah, you might not have an immediate reaction, but that doesn't mean that you won't have a reaction to it, 6 months down the road or a year down the road. Okay. And that's part of the conversation that is not being allowed even online. That's the problem. So our best thing is to actually have these conversations and people know that these are the variations that they have to deal with. And then they can make the best choice and the best decision based on what they know about their health and their family and so forth.
Fair enough.
Sorry, guys. Here's the question. We don't know what the long-term effects are, and I hope it won't be anything really bad. But right now, I don't know what choice we have. And so it's you're right, Jimmy and Ed. I mean, I took the chance to take the vaccine just like you did, Ed, and we don't know what the long-term effects. So far, I'm feeling just fine. But who knows? That could change in 6 months. I hope not. But right now, we've got to take a break for our sponsors. And Jimmy, are we ready to show that video, or should I need another minute? Are you ready to put that on? We want to talk about ActiPure, this new device, and boy, we're having great success with it. We've been putting it into other people's facilities, and it's killing these viruses. And what a way to encourage people to come out and dine where there's something like that out there that's keeping them safe. But the fact is, until this thing is really down to hardly nothing, a lot of people are just not going to go out, Ed, the way things are going right now. They're not going to risk it.
You're right.
So we're going to show this video. Watch this video, and we'll give you a phone number to call. This stuff really works, and for an investment of a laptop, you can have this in your building, in your house. It covers 3,000 square feet.
The virus that causes COVID-19 and other pathogens are reminders that bad air can kill. You want protection to keep you healthy and give you peace of mind, but you won't settle for just any protection. You want the best out there. ActiPure. The ActiPure system has origins in the NASA space program. It's even been inducted into the Space Foundation Hall of Fame. ActiPure is used daily by hospitals, schools, sports arenas, restaurants, government buildings, homes, and more. So how does it work? The ActiPure system dispatches invisible supercharged submicroscopic particles at tremendous speed. The particles collide with viruses, bacteria, and other nasty things and immediately turn them into harmless byproducts. ActiPure works immediately on both air and surfaces. It comes in portable units built for any space, from gigantic ballrooms to elevators. It's affordable, easy to install, and virtually maintenance-free. It's like invisible personal protective equipment, or PPE, for you and your pets. Sounds too good to be true? Independent FDA-compliant lab testing has shown that within minutes, ActiPure neutralizes more than 99.9% of pathogens, including the virus that causes COVID-19. The ActiPure Medical Guardian, powered by the same ActiPure technology as our other products, has been cleared by the FDA as a Class II medical device. There's only one ActiPure. Beware of claims for other systems like HEPA, bipolar ionizers, and UV light. They're passive and slow. Some trap pathogens, but don't destroy them. In fact, many of them are so dangerous people can't even be in the same room while they operate. No system cleans the air faster, safer, or more effectively than ActivePure. To give your family and your customers peace of mind, choose ActivePure, protecting lives with air you can trust. To get ActivePure for your home, office, store, or organization, contact your local distributor.
Well, let's 505-207-8877. That's the number you want to call, and we will have you guys taken care of. And believe me, this stuff really does work, and people are buying this, and it's pretty exciting stuff. Jimmy, do we have let's get our other sponsors up to Everguard Roofing. Can you do that? Put it on the screen. We've got our other Everguard Roofing and Solar, one of our sponsors. Here they are, Everguard Roofing and Solar. They, if you're looking for a roofing project or solar, they're the best, and they do all the big commercial jobs, and they do a lot of homes here in Albuquerque and New Mexico. Hey, we've got Extreme Clean. If you're looking to get your carpet clean, your place clean, they've been in business for 28 years. They're a big supporter of sports and ProView Networks. And then I want to thank all the restaurants that are on Central Route 66, Gecko's. We've got the Artichoke Cafe, Farina. We got all these great diners, the 66 Diner. And then the most important thing, ProView Network, thank you for putting us on Channel 26. And I think this Thursday, we're going to be live on Channel 26 at 6 o'clock, hour before we have a big basketball game on 26. So that's pretty much it. And let's put up that phone number again, Jimmy, that people can call and get an ActivePure device. One more time if you can, Jimmy. There it is, 505-207-8877. Call that number. And boy, this does kill 99.9% of the viruses, everything, especially if you have allergies. And right now, people are going through allergies. So what a great product. So let's get back to the show.
Real quick, Marty, if people text America to that number, 505-207-8877, they can get some additional information and also watch this video again.
So all they have to do is text America, AMERICA, to this phone number.
Yep.
505-207, you'll get information. What a great deal. So so let's get back to the show. Ed, Major League Baseball has been open for now, a couple weeks now. Is there any surprise teams right now that's caught your eye?
Philadelphia was playing well for a while. I got to think about St. Louis was playing well. The Dodgers, they're you know what? They're the defending champs, and they added Trevor Bauer in their rotation. They're playing well. That's no surprise. They're going to be very tough to beat in the AL West. Houston reeled off. Now, Oakland started out really bad. Oakland had a bad start, one of the worst starts they've ever had. Houston was starting out very well. A.J. Hinch, the former Houston manager, returning to Detroit yesterday, back in the dugout, back in the field after that cheating scandal. So that was kind of intriguing to me. But I think those are the teams that I'm looking at right now. The Dodgers playing very well. Tampa Bay continues their mastery over the Yankees. I don't get it. The Yankees every year spend more money. They got Garrett Cole now as one of their pitchers, and they spend money, and Tampa Bay has got their number. And it just surprises the heck out of me because New York is one of the best teams money can buy. And for whatever reason, the Tampa Bay Rays have had their number for the last 3 years. So I just that perplexes me because New York spends money. They spend money. So I think those are the things early on. Atlanta was playing well for a while, and they wore their old school uniforms the other day, the ones that when they used to wear when Bobby Cox was the manager, Joe Torre back in the day. That brought back some memories seeing those. And so I think early on, those are the things that Washington had a COVID-19 outbreak. They had a pretty bad one, and then they won yesterday, I believe 5-2. So those are the things early on in baseball that I saw that kind of intrigued me a little bit.
Well, listen, you forgot to mention San Diego Padres. They had their first no hitter in their franchise history last week.
Joe Musgrove.
And you know, I moved to San Diego in 1985, and they were in a pennant chase. The year before they won the pennant and went to the World Series and lost to the Tigers. And I got there in the summer of '85. They were 7 games ahead of the Dodgers, and they blew it in the second half. So I went to a lot of Padres games at Jack Murphy Stadium, but it's hard to believe they're the last team that never had a no-hitter, a pitcher on their team. The last time.
You know what? I couldn't believe that. You know, again, Joe Musgrove was the pitcher of record. Oh, Fernando Tatis, by the way, Fernando Tatis Jr., the shortstop, he took a swing last week and I think strained his abdomen. I mean, you should have seen the swing. Gosh, it was perfect. He took that bat off the hand. It was perfect textbook swing, but he swung so hard he pulled something. He really was going for the fences. But yeah, I was surprised that was the first no hitter in Padres history. I was really surprised. So. Yeah, I did remember that. I reported on that for 99.9 FM. So yes, that did. I forgot to mention that.
Pepco Park is the new ballpark, but I went to Jack Murphy Stadium. I was the first baseball park ever named after a sports writer. He was the sports writer for the San Diego Union newspaper. So, so anyway, with the Padres, and they're playing well too. The Padres are going to give the Dodgers a chase. They're the second best team in that division, I think. I'm still not crazy about what Major League Baseball. I'm against what Major League Baseball did, pulling the All-Star game from Atlanta. There's no reason they shouldn't have done that. It really hurts all the vendors, and even the Atlanta Braves are upset about it. And they took a poll in Georgia. I think 71% of the people are against it. But I think Major League Baseball should not stick their nose, like you were saying, politicizing into politics. Let the people watch the games. Like you and I were saying earlier, I just want to turn on the TV, Ed, and watch a baseball game or a football game or a basketball. I don't want to have Black Lives Matter all over the place, people not doing the national anthem. I just want to watch the game. And I know times have changed, but a lot of people feel the way I do. I would say the majority of the people out there feel the way I feel. And I think the Major League Commissioner did the wrong thing. And I think it's going to backfire eventually. Now, I'm not going to stop watching baseball, but I'm not crazy of what he did, because I still love the game of baseball, and the players are out there are pure. And then, here's the thing: is 10% of the baseball players are African American. Ed, the game has been changed by the Hispanic players. They're the superstars. Look at all the great Latin American players, players from Cuba, Latin America. Look at all those great Latin America, even the Hispanic baseball players in America. The Hispanic people are the ones that are carrying the game of baseball. Think about it. Every one of those rosters have 6 or 7 Hispanic players, right, Ed? And they're the ones who are really making the game what it is. Am I right?
Well, a lot of players from the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic is crazy about their baseball over there. But I've got to say this too, that I think that a lot of people probably should read that voting bill. Maybe I didn't read the full thing, but I will say this too, though. You may disagree with that, and that's your right. I may agree with some of that. That's my right. But I got to say that back in the day, just listen to me for one sec. Back in the day in the 1989, when Arizona refused to go with Martin Luther King Day. Now, that was then. They did eventually have Martin Luther King Day, but they hit them economically. They were going to have the Super Bowl there in 90 or 91, and they took the Super Bowl away. So, again, I think people should probably read that law, the whole thing. But I will say this, too. We can't forget that there was a time, and you may disagree with this, too, but in the South, that they made sure that blacks and minorities didn't vote. We need to remember that. So when people start saying suppressing vote, it may be 40, 50 years ago, but it did happen. It did, and it was horrible. They made them, wait, let me finish. They made them do litmus tests. They murdered them in some cases. We can't ever forget that history. It was horrible. It's horrible. But I think people need to, again, I'm advocating and saying take that away. Let's read the whole thing, right? Let's read the whole thing and be sure that what we're reading is true. But there was a time that they sure as heck suppressed as many minority votes as they could. You know it, I know it, and it was a shameful time in our history, and we should never forget that. Never.
I'm not denying it. And I came from a part of Oklahoma where blacks couldn't really vote. I would remember in the 50s, the Jim Crow laws were still in effect, especially in Texas and some parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and whatever. But with that saying, so many people who didn't read that bill law, and when the president says Jim Crow's on steroids, he kind of overstated that. And I will tell you this, I'm all for minorities, and my dad's story, and I want everybody to know I was invited by the mayor. I went to the Martin King celebration at the Ebenezer Church, invitation by Mrs. Franklin, the mayor of Atlanta, and I got to sit down with Mrs. King and Martin Luther King III. They loved me because I was Martin Luther Watts Jr. But the fact is, I feel for everybody. Now, I do feel that people should have a ID, and if you can't have an ID, matter of fact, some of my Black African American friends, they think it's an insult why people can't get an ID. Now, if the guy doesn't have an ID, we'll do everything we can. Now, with that saying, Ed, you can't. I was maybe you did it too. I worked in the polls back in the 70s and 80s. Election polls. I was one of those. I worked in on the day of election. We have a law in New Mexico. You can't solicit somebody with water and food if you're in line to go vote. Okay. And so this thing about not giving them water, that law is in about all these states. Now, I've never knew a person who was dehydrated in line to get the vote. Now, maybe if they vote in July, but most of these elections are in November. So some of this stuff was overblown, in my opinion. And I do think that it will cut down election fraud if you do show ID. It makes people feel that the vote is legit. I think so. Anyway, with that saying, let's get back to baseball. I just want baseball like you and I. You enjoy the game. You and I can sit there. And one of the great things is, you went to the ballpark with your dad many a times, didn't you? You and your dad?
Well, I'll be honest with you. You're going to laugh. My dad had to quit school in 8th grade to work. My dad could have cared less about sports, but I'll tell you one thing. When my brother played at St. Pius and I played at Pius and Highland, my dad was in the stands. He was proud. He was cheering for us. To him, athletics was foreign because he boxed a little bit. He did. He boxed, but he couldn't. He had to work. So when he was in 8th grade, he had to drop out of school and go to work. But my dad loved us and he supported us. And I'll never forget seeing my old man in the stands saying, "Sink it, Hito, sink it." I still remember that like it was yesterday.
Well, your father and my dad would have been great buddies because my dad went to every game I ever played. Every game. The only game he never went to see me play is when we played the University of Hawaii at New Mexico Highlands. That was too much of a trip. Couldn't afford it in college, but he went to every game. My dad would take me to the ballpark, and we had some great memories. That's why I don't want this to be politicized. I don't want to go to the ballpark and have people do protests, Black Lives Matter, or whatever. And you know what, Ed? Maybe these things are a really good subject for people to protest. I just want to take the politicalism out of sports. I just wanted to go to the game with you. We could sit down and have fun and talk baseball. I don't want all this other stuff around it. And most people are trying to get away from their lives. It's the only time that you can watch a ball game not thinking about the problems of the world is to watch a ball game. You know how many times, and what makes you so great, Ed, is you're the play-by-play guy. You entertain these people. They enjoy listening to your voice. They don't want to hear about play. They want you to do the play-by-play, and you do such a great job professionally about it. People just want to hear the enthusiasm, the sounds of the game, and that's what it's all about. And I just don't like all this stuff cutting in. Now, so far the games I watch on Major League Baseball have been pretty pure and clean, don't you think? I haven't seen any of that stuff, the games I've been watching.
No,
So
no,
far, it's been really good.
I've only caught a couple of innings here and there, and I like watching baseball. So no, I haven't heard anything like that. It hasn't been too many protests in the parks or anything like that, or the major league parks. Or so I haven't heard anything early on yet. No, I haven't heard anything.
And so that's kind of where I'm at. And I I wish they would have. I wish they would just keep the All-Star game in Atlanta. I think that was just kind of. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell how the people react to that. But the polls I've been seeing, they're against what he did. But anyway, and a matter of fact, I've had people who call me up. They're going to be starting to buy Pepsi. Pepsi is one of our sponsors for ProView, so maybe that's a good news. Pepsi, they're upset that Coca-Cola made these political statements. That I think these big corporations, they have stockholders, Ed, and maybe 50% of them are conservative. Maybe they're more liberal. But you know what? If you do that, you're alienating maybe half of your stockholders or half of your audience. And I think what Coca-Cola should have just been neutral about it. Now, if it's something that's really a game changer in our lives, that's another story. But this wasn't. And I know a lot of people are not buying Coke. They're going to buy Pepsi. Now, I don't know about what's the airlines there and what's the airlines that got involved with this?
No one United, was it? I don't know.
Delta.
It was Delta.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy. And I've heard people don't want to fly Delta. The problem with Delta in Atlanta, they're the major hub. They're like Southwest Airlines in Dallas, Texas. They're the major hub there in Atlanta. So you pretty much have to take Delta for most of those flights. But anyway, with that saying, I want to go through this summer. I just want to watch the games. And when football starts, I just want to watch the pureness of it and just watch the kids play. Just like when you do your broadcast, you bring that out, the kids, the families. And you told us so many times in the last couple of weeks how it's so great to see the moms and dads out there. And you described it perfectly, the way you did your broadcast.
Well, the other thing is, like tonight, they can't be out there right in the gym. So I got to take a little subplot tonight because we've got St. Pius and Highland in the district game. And I played at St. Pius, transferred to Highland, and my son played at St. Pius and coached at St. Pius. So I'm working with Damian Segura tonight, who coached my son, and then he coached Ryan Myers, the head coach of St. Pius, and Ryan Myers played for Damian Segura. So there's a lot of subplots tonight for Coach Segura and I to cover this game.
This is boys basketball, boys?
Yes, boys basketball. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited. I'm excited.
I think that game's going to be on Comcast 26.
It is.
And the people who are watching on Facebook today and YouTube, you can go up there tonight. But the ones who'll see the show on Thursday, they won't be able to see that. But that's going to be great. St. Pius High School, what a great tradition. And, since the families can't come out, there'll probably be a lot of people watching the game on the National High School Network. And so you've got an opportunity to describe the game because the parents can't be there. I bless their heart. How many moms and dad would like to be in the gym tonight? And they're not going to be able to do it.
I'm going to go cover the JV game as well. And I think I try to, again, it's about the kids, right? It's about the kids that are playing. And I just try to describe the action as best as I can because the parents for me not to see my son, I don't even know how to react to that because it never happened. I missed one game his whole career. I was reffing a game in Berlin. And I remember afterward, because I'm calling my wife at half, and I'm saying, what's going on? How's he doing? And my wife said after the game, don't ever let that happen again. And she was absolutely right. I never let it happen again. I missed one game his whole career. And I used to go watch him play pickup ball. We played together until I couldn't play anymore. My son and I have great memories. We coach together. We broadcast together. My son, I love him so, so much. So tonight I was hoping he could be there with me, but he can't make it, but he'll be watching.
Folks, if the people are watching this podcast, you've never seen an Ed Nunes and Son broadcast. It's something special. It might be one of the best father-son combinations I've ever seen in my lifetime. Now, I know Jack Buck and Joe Buck did a couple father-son things on a national level, right, Ed? But
I think they did. And again, there's no comparison there. They're a way different level. But my son,
Harry Carey,
Skip Carey.
Yeah, Skip. They did one broadcast, but this is legendary stuff. The two Nuneses together, and boy, and what makes this great, because he's a former coach, former player, played at Pius. He understands the basketball, what's going on, and then you're the voice and he's the analyst. What a great combination. I can't get enough of you two guys together.
Well, I appreciate that, Marty. I'm very proud of my son. I think he breaks the game down as well as any analyst we have, save for Coach Segura and Ivan Sanchez. Ivan Sanchez was unbelievable. One of the best I ever heard, for sure. Coach Segura, a close second, and my son right there. My son is very good. I'm very proud of him.
I used to love Roy Sanchez and Vaughn Sanchez coaching together on the bench at El Dorado. That's why it's really breaking my heart right now, because, I love Roy Sanchez, just like you do. And what he's going through right now, today and this week, he can't play. It's breaking his heart. And, and he's the athletic director and the coach of the basketball team. And of course, his sister, I wouldn't be surprised she's back in town, right? Because the NCAA is done for basketball. They got to be breaking the Sanchez's family, because their life. If you ever saw a family that gives their whole life to one school like El Dorado, the Sanchez, and that includes Roy's dad, mother, everybody in the family.
You know what? Roy Sanchez coached my nephew, David. I'm going to tell you what Roy Sanchez did to me, for me, when I was a young official coming up in the NMAA, the Mexico Activity Association. He wrote a letter. This is about 1997, 98. He said in his letter to the NMAA, Ed Nunez is a good young official who needs more games. I think he'll be successful on the varsity level. I never forgot that. Never forgot that. And so I think Roy, as I mentioned, he coached my nephew at El Dorado. Roy Sanchez is a class act, someone who I respect very, very much. And as you mentioned, he's given 3 state championships, I believe, at El Dorado. He's given his whole career to El Dorado, former Los Alamos guy, along with his sister. And he's just a humble guy, too, and a competitor. I remember being out there reffing his games, and he'd let me know. He'd let me know if he didn't like, what I call. And we might have gotten some disagreements, but not bad. Never bad, never personal. He and I just talked to him about 2 weeks ago, and every time I see him, he's like, hey, man, it's always good to see you. And he sincerely means it. So that's one good guy. A lot of respect for him.
About a year ago, before the pandemic, the big rival between Sandia and El Dorado, we covered that game on ProView Networks, and I was there. I sat behind the El Dorado bench, and El Dorado got behind, but they ended up winning the game by 10 there that night. And Danny Brown was coaching for Sandia. And so after the game, I was lingering around, and I'm walking to my car out there in the Sandia parking lot, and there all of a sudden, Roy is in his car. He comes over, stops the car in the middle of the parking lot, gets out of the car, and gave me a hug. He said, Marty, I really appreciate what you do, and ProView and all the guys. I just want to thank you for being here tonight. And I really felt good about that. He didn't have to do that. Right in the middle of the parking lot after the game, that's the kind of guy Roy Sanchez is. I have a lot of respect. It really broke my heart when El Dorado lost that semifinals. Remember in the semis 2 years ago against Las Cruces, where they had the game won and Las Cruces wins in the last second? Remember that game in the
That was a tough game. That was a tough game.
And that was a good El Dorado basketball team. They pretty much outplayed Las Cruces the whole game until that last minute stretch. And that was one of the great games. And actually, they really won the game. After looking at the clock already ran out before the guy hit the shot. But at that time, they didn't have instant replay. Remember that?
Now, I'll be honest with you. That was a tough call. I talked to some of my official friends afterward, and I'm not going to mention any names. It was just a tough call. Yeah, we might have made a mistake. I say we because I'm always going to be an official. I always consider myself an official after 22 years. We may not have got that one right. But those are ones I'm telling you, you go home as an official and you think, just like the players do, did I get it right? You replay those last couple of seconds in your mind. And sometimes a call like that can undo an official. Like you lose your steel, you lose your nerve, you lose that confidence to make a call. When I made calls, I had to have confidence in what I was calling. And a call like that can unspool you, man. It can unspool you because you're like, I'm not sure. I'm not. And then, so my understanding is, one of the officials on that crew never came back.
Well, let's say this, that game changed New Mexico basketball because they put a new rule for state tournaments. If you make it to the semis and finals, that they can review a last second call now with the replay, so they put that in there just because, and be honest with you, Ed, that was a tough call to make. That was
Yes.
a split second. That could go either way. I'm not upset with the official. It's just that now we have replay, and now that probably will not happen again. But
Which is
because
good.
of that, because of that rule, because that changed, now they can't do it for all the regular season games, but for these games, they're going to do that. And the MMAA put that in there. So, but that, I imagine that wasn't the last time a basket was taken away because it was too close to call. You just have split second decision. I hope the referee didn't get reprimanded because it was a tough call. But that did that. If that rule was in place before that, El Dorado wins that game. They go to the finals. Okay.
Here's the thing, Marty. Even if he didn't get reprimanded, which, like I said, you're right. I hope he didn't. You reprimand yourself. You reprimand yourself the rest of your career, honestly, because you don't forget that, and you moves on. But you always think in your mind, did I get it right? And sometimes you beat yourself up. Hopefully, that referee's moved on.
So anyway, listen, we've got about 3 minutes to go. I want to thank our sponsors, Everguard Roofing and Solar. I want to thank Evergreen. I want you to really look up this Active Pure, this device that can really change your lives in your house. And another thing is, I want everybody to play it safe out there. And this thing is not going away. I hope people do have a chance to get their vaccine, but I know that's an individual choice. But so far, the vaccine's working out. I have, now this, so you know, Ed, and you know a lot of people, so far, none of my friends, nobody's died from the vaccine. Only a few people had some reaction where it affected them for a few days. Like what happened to you. How many days did it affect you? A couple days?
About 2 days.
And so, but I, so far it's so good. And this is, and now we're in April, and hopefully, I sure love to see people in the pit in early May. I think that it's what, May 6th to the 8th is the state tournament? Or May 6th to the 9th?
May 3rd through the 8th, around there, I think. Yeah.
I'm hoping that you'll be able to do, Ed's going to be doing some broadcast for us for ProView during the state tournament. I'm hoping that Ed and his son's going to be doing one of the championship games. Which one? I don't know what they're going to sign to you, but boy, if you get a chance to watch the National High School Network, make sure you get Ed on the broadcast, and you'll see his son, and hopefully we'll have some fans in the stands. I think it won't be the same without him.
It's I got it. You're right. It's hard because tonight we've got Highland, and they've got that big kid, Jose Murillo, the big 6'7" kid. They're going to lob. They're going to look for him. And if he gets a dunk, I saw him do a 2-hand hammer last year. And I mean, that was when he was a sophomore. He's a junior now. So he's much better than he was last year.
This is the kid from Mexico.
Yes. So, look out for this kid. He's something special.
So with that saying, Jimmy, are we about to wrap this up? Because I know Ed he has a basketball game tonight. He has to
get going. Yes, sir.
And folks, if you get a chance, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, go up to ProView Channel 26 tonight on Comcast, or you can go buy a pass and watch it on the National High School Network tonight and watch the great Ed Nunes do a broadcast. And this rivalry between Pius and Highland, they've got they're going strong with each other, right?
They haven't played in a long time. They don't get to see each other very much. But tonight's a district game, so they're going to get after it. They're going to get after it for sure.
Folks, if you don't know, he has mixed emotion. Ed went to Highland High School, and of course, his family all went to St. Pius. So it's the St. Pius. It's a Sarton versus the Hortons.
I actually went 1 year to Pius myself. I went 1 year to Pius, but I'm a Hornet.
He's a Hornet. So this is so your wife rooting for St. Pius tonight?
She probably would be. Yes, she probably would be.
And you're rooting for the Hornet. Of course, your son.
Well, I'm down the line. No, I'm rooting for nobody, but yeah.
So what a great thing. Hey, Ed, Jimmy, let's wrap it up. Are you ready to wrap it up? I think you are, right? And folks, the best thing that Ed and I can give you for free is the gift of laughter and love, Ed. That doesn't cost you a dime.
It's free.
It's free. And God bless everybody. And we'll see you next time on American Talk It Up. And I'll tell you what, we still got a long ways to go. The best is yet to come.
Yes, sir.